But if you go back in the past, when you were young, and still you are young, but every parent wants his children, like they want a secure job. They want to their children to be doctor, do engineer, or MBA. Do
I had the same kind of parents as your listeners in regards to, I wanted to go into music and I wanted to just throw myself into the recording industry. And
like choosing niche is the most important thing for a content creator, a person who wants to start his career in digital field or in a media field. Number one.
I've always been, yeah, but I would add to that, I would add authenticity. Show up as your genuine self. Don't be someone that you're not. Because, a lot of people,
As you earlier mentioned that you are a singer as well. So I want you to sing few lines for our audience.
my favorite band was Human League in the early days. So I'm only human, of flesh and blood I'm made. That's all you're going to get.
8 billion people who were using TikTok, and now you have a good following on your TikTok. Networking is very important thing.
I know I'm 56, but I've learned a lot about myself. And I think, if I had done this about 5 or 6 years ago.
According to a survey, 360 million people are digital content creators. 446 million people are podcast listeners. And according to a survey, 1.8 billion people are using TikTok on daily basis. So it means you have a wider audience. You have a lot of audience on these platforms. But the question arises, how you gonna transform? How gonna you start your digital journey? There are a lot of people who are making content without any meaning. Having meaning or having purpose for your content or for your business is very important. So in today's podcast, we will going to discuss all these aspects, how digital content creation has been transforming as an entrepreneur or as a podcaster or as an anchor. How can you start your digital journey? Because we will be having a very special guest today who has more than 20 years experience in media field. He was an engineer who transformed into a podcaster. In 2014, he started his own podcast journey. He is one of the pioneers of podcast. So we will be discussing a lot of things with him. Let's jump into the podcast. So viewers, we have Stefan Lindberg-Jones. He is a life coach, he's a mentor, and he's a podcaster as well. So we have today in our podcast. Thank you so much for your precious time.
Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's the first day of 2025, so I'm always excited for the new year. I look back, I reflect on how the year's been. So yeah, I'm very excited for 2025. I think this is going to be a great year. I'm closing one chapter and opening a new chapter or writing a new chapter. So I'm looking forward to this.
Exactly. Every ending opens a door of a new beginning. And when I was searching about your profile, I've seen that you have worked in media. You have been working in media from last many years. But if you go back in the past, when you were young, and still you are young, but every parent wants his children, like they want a secure job. They want their children to be doctor, do engineer, or MBA, do a secure kind of job. But on the other hand, you started your career in media. How did this happen? It was easy for you to convince your parents to be in this field?
No, look, I had the same kind of parents as your listeners in regards to, I wanted to go into music and I wanted to just throw myself into the recording industry and just be a T-boy. And they went, no, you get your education. So, and that they didn't know they weren't really bothered about what kind of education. They just or what career. It was you get the qualifications. You get the qualifications, and then once you get a qualification, then you can do whatever you want. So it was literally, so I did my research and I wanted to see how I could get into a recording studio with a qualification. So I literally, there was only one university in the UK at that time that was doing a recording qualification. Now there's hundreds. It's it's one of the in things. And they said, no, I couldn't get in because I didn't have physics qualification, physics O level, which is in the UK. And because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was doing my, when I was at school. So, and I had dropped physics. So when they said, no, you need physics, it was just like, oh, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. So I did that privately. My parents paid for me privately. And in the meantime, I went to the local college where I did electronics and communications, anything around, what I would need for the music industry. And I knew recording studios, electronics, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I found myself on this road of electronics, communication. And it was funny because I never went to that university. I found myself falling onto a TV course, which was engineering, because I had done electronics and communications. My qualifications just took me on this road to finally going to university to study TV communications engineering. And there was two universities at the time. Either there was the BBC, which is, the BBC, they do their own internal training, or there was Ravensbourne College, now it's a university, which did a TV. So it did operations, which was the fancy, behind the camera, directors, et cetera, et cetera. And then there was the engineering course. But when I received, so I was literally contacting record companies at the time after I'd done various courses in colleges. And I got a flyer from EMI Records, and they sent me this prospectus for Ravensbourne. And it said, yes, you're doing behind the camera work, you're doing a little bit of engineering. And I thought, great, I've done electronics, but I don't know the operational side. So this would be the ideal course. So when I applied, the college got straight back to me and said, yeah, you're perfect. You've got your electronics, you've done your physics, so you'll be perfect. And then I went round, had a tour around the college, and the question that I asked was, oh, how much time do we get to play around with the cameras? And the guy said, you guys don't. And I went, what do you mean you guys don't? Well, you're the engineering course. And I went, hold on, here's the prospectus. He went, no, we've changed the prospectus a couple of years ago. So now we split the courses. So there's an engineering course and there's an operational course. And I went, no, I don't want to be an engineer. I want to be operational. I love, although I hadn't really, I've been playing around with music and stuff like that, making my own videos, but I didn't really, engineering wasn't from the heart. And so I took this course, I passed it, and then I found myself in doing studio engineering, building TV studios as a project engineer, building satellite OB trucks for another company. And then I slowly got into operations just by going into transmission. So I went into transmission with a cable company, and then it ended up being transmission for a satellite company in Italy. And then I got into TV. So I worked for ITV in the UK, and then I worked for Sky TV as transmission. So that was my journey, and I've literally, when I look back, I've literally worked for 13 different companies, and my career and the way I've done things has changed as I've, got older.
Very vast and diversified fields you have worked in, and I think the viewers will be inspiring those people, those youngsters who want to be in this field. I can relate to this because I have worked in production as well. I have worked as an assistant director with some channels, so I have idea of this. Like, people usually think what they see on TV, it's very admiring, but they don't know the hard work behind it, the production team, the director, and the stuff. I will be linking the next question with your first one. Usually people admire what they see on the screen, but they don't know about the hard work. And as you told me that you were engineer who transformed into this field. So, what sort of skills you have learned at that period of time, at that struggling time?
Um, well, as a from the beginning, it was engineering, so it was very much working and learning from your peers. And you know, I when you leave university, you think you know it all. You think you know it all. You think you've been trained by the best professors, by the best educators. And that was the first thing that hit me when I went into my first job as a project engineer, that I was sitting next to a person that hadn't gone to university, and he had just been an apprentice. And he knew far more than what I had, because he literally learned from all the engineers around him. And they literally gave him all the relevant information that was up to date, that was relevant, where I had literally learned from books. I learned from old lecturers that hadn't been in the industry for years. So that was my first lesson, is just never judge anyone just by their qualification. And also, yeah, when you're in that education bubble and you come out of it, you think everyone's there to help you, because when you're in the educational bubble, everyone is there to help you to get your grades, and you've got all these wonderful resources. But when you go into the workplace, no, everyone's there for themselves. Everyone's there to make the company profitable, etc., etc. So you might get engineers that are older than you that think, oh, who is this guy? What does he know? Oh, he thinks he's this or that, and it's just, and they don't want to help you. So you have to people skills is the first thing that you have to learn, is learn how to work with different types of characters, different types of people. And then, literally you have to show up, you have to be willing to learn, because you think that you know it all when you leave university, but actually you're continuously learning. You always have to learn especially engineering, there's always new technology, new courses, etc., that you have to go on. So never stop learning. I thought, finish university and that's it, I'm not going to learn again. And I think I gave myself 10 years where it was just like I wasn't interested in the latest research, etc., etc. So never stop learning, and be willing to learn outside of your field as well. Learn interactive skills. Networking is very important.
Really, really appreciating your thoughts and your experiences. Uh, Now I will jump into the podcast thing. How you got an idea to start your own podcast? There are a lot of people, when I was searching about you, you are one of the pioneers of this. You started podcast back in 2014. From that to till 2024, and now in 2025, you are doing podcast. So, who inspired you for doing this? And in start, your quality of your podcast, your content was very good comparatively from other content creators. So, how you got an idea to start your own podcast? You are one of the pioneers.
It's funny because yeah, we started our podcast in 2014, but I wasn't into podcasts before that, and it was through a friend of mine who I hired as a salesperson. And he said, and there was another friend of mine that was wanting to start a business online. And my sales friend basically said, look, why don't we start a podcast? Let's get some traction in the community. And when we build traction, when we build an audience, then we can help the other friend of ours that is trying to, get his name out there with regards to an online platform. So, and because I've been working for a production company, I had seen in that production company that when you're doing business, it's very much B2B, and you're not really involved with the community. And I didn't like that. I thought, no, you need to be, if you're going to have a successful business, you've got to be part of the community. You've got to know what's going on the ground. You need to always have your brand out there in any shape or form, even if you're a production company. So, and I could see the power of podcasts, that, this is an easy platform to literally get your name out there, to get your voice heard, and also, be part of the community. So we started with Doha Heat in 2014, which was a community-based podcast, because Doha, Qatar, is a unique place because you have so many different cultures in one place. So, it's great. Then there's so many people doing different things within different communities and across all communities. So I literally got online and I literally invited people to come on that podcast. And the thing is, the best thing about it is with podcasts is you get someone on, you interview them, and then they want to tell everyone in their community that, hey, I've been on a podcast. Look at me. And so people are then going to be curious about, oh, who's done this podcast? Who's the company behind doing this podcast? So, even with the company name, I always wanted it to be, different and to create curiosity when people saw our company name. So my company name was Ginger Camel. It doesn't shout out media production, but I wanted people to be curious and I wanted people to have a smile on their face when they saw the name Ginger Camel. So when people came on our podcast and then people saw that it was done by this company called Ginger Camel, I knew there would be curiosity. And, we're all here to work. So they're all working in different companies. So they're spreading the word of Ginger Camel and the podcast. So that's why the podcast was launched, to literally be part of the community, but also get our brand out there as much as possible.
Really, really great. And I think starting that in that era, starting a podcast was a big challenge. And now it's very easy for everyone to start a podcast. At that period of time, there was only YouTube, and people used to watch podcasts or things like that on YouTube. But in now 2025, we have a lot of options. We have TikTok, we have Facebook, we have Instagram Reels, and the time of the audience is now like a very short span of time they have. Which platform do you think has the most loyal audience according to your experience? Because you're working on multiple platforms as a mentor. So, what is your take on it?
Oh, oh, what a great question. I no, now that I've nearly closed Ginger Camel, I'm in the process of launching myself as my own brand. So I'm experimenting with different platforms, and I'm at the beginning again. So I'm learning again about what it's like to launch yourself as an individual. And the first platform that I chose was TikTok, because I heard that there were 1.5 billion people on that platform, and I thought, okay, I know nothing about TikTok. This is, I'm an old soul. I've grown up with YouTube, Facebook, etc. But TikTok, I've seen my daughter play around with TikTok. I've seen my daughter play around with CapCut editing. It's amazing. So, and I saw that, there's a lot of dancing, singing, etc., etc. And I thought, no, if there's 1.5 billion people on this platform, there's got to be a place for me to show up. But I'm just going to show up as me. Let's see what effect that's going to have. Will it resonate with anyone? And who cares? If I can connect with one person, then I've done my job. If I can change someone's life just by one person, that one person will go on and change someone else's life, and it will have a knock-on effect. So I started in November of last year, and I was dipping in and out. I was doing half an hour now and again. And yeah, I was getting some good response, but I wasn't really taking it seriously. And then of August of 2024, I thought, no, if I'm going to do this, if this is going to be my career, I've got to take this seriously, and I've got to show up, and I've got to show up for an hour every single day going live on TikTok. And that's the beauty of TikTok. I love TikTok because all the other social media platforms, you can't have an interaction like voice to voice. YouTube, you can go on air, but people have to type in. There isn't where they can literally, you can either see them or you can hear them. And people would just come, what I found with TikTok was that people could come on anonymously, with their handle and not be seen. So they felt comfortable that they're not on camera. And since August of 2024, I started with 5,000 followers, and now I'm up to 21,000 followers and literally every single day that I go live, I have over 100 followers join me on my TikTok page. And it's incredible. And I'm building this beautiful community where, I'm just showing up to give people the space to be able to allow to be heard. And that's what I've realized, that there's a lot of people out there that aren't being listened to, no one else is giving them the time. And that's all I'm doing. Sometimes I don't even say anything. I just give them the space, and people show up, and it's beautiful. And that's my goal now, is to mentor, to be a life coach where I can help as many people as I can, just by giving them the space to reflect back what I'm hearing, what I'm not hearing, and standing by their side, and being there for them to get through whatever situation they're going through. And that, because I come from, running my own business, that can be business, that can be, I'm 56, so I've experienced depression, I've experienced anxiety, I've experienced, being up on stage doing talks, I've experienced divorce, so I've experienced a lot of things. So I bring that to the table as well as a mentor. But, as a life coach, we're there to ask the questions. And I can sense, I can feel, I can hear the words that they're saying and what they're not saying. So I can help them as much as possible get through whatever they're going through. And there's nothing better than showing up every single day and helping people at the moment, it's on TikTok, it's literally in the Middle East region. I'm helping a lot of people in the Middle East region. But on YouTube, it's the US, the UK. So I basically record an hour of my TikTok, and then I repeat it. It goes out on my YouTube channel.
So yeah, you are playing your part, and you are lighting your part in this ocean, in digital ocean, and I think you are doing a fabulous job. Uh, Now I will be like, I have two questions. I will connect it with your previous talk. Like choosing niche is the most important thing for a content creator, a person who wants to start his career in digital field or in a media field. Number one, and on the other side, quality and quantity. These two words are the most repeated things. So, what is quality and what is quantity? Can you manage them? I will link these both questions, your content and your niche, and how do you maintain a quality and quantity as well? Like quality or quantity matters.
Oh, absolutely. I've always been, yeah. But I would add to that, I would add authenticity. Show up as your genuine self. Don't be someone that you're not. Because, a lot of people see through that, and, you don't get real connection. You don't get real followership if you're not being genuine. I know there's loads of channels on YouTube where everyone shows up and goes, hi, with this, with that. We love this. Oh, look at this product. Oh, this is me. And it's just like, I just feel, oh, that's so exhausting. How can you keep, you're not being genuine. But all right, there are people that buy into that. There are youngsters that buy into that. They love it. I have my daughter that follow these kind of people all the time. But no, I can't be that way. I show up as me. But yeah, quality is important. Although this has been a journey, because having a production company before, I would just be able to show up in the studio, everything's been set up, cameras, sound, etc., etc., and it was brilliant. All I had to do was be myself. Now, when I'm on my own, I literally have to worry about, okay, is the microphone working? Is the camera working? Is the phone working? And then, so there have been stages where things haven't been recorded properly, or audio hasn't worked, or I've got hum from the mixer, etc., etc. So that's been a learning curve, but it's always been important for me, because as you said, 2014, I launched my podcast. I've always been conscious about audio quality. Coming from a production side of things, audio is important, because there's nothing worse than listening to crappy audio. And that's going to distract you from the message. That's going to distract you from the story. So get your audio done properly. And as you said, there's no excuse these days. There's so much technology. When we started in 2014, that it was so hard to find, cheap microphones. It always was expensive cameras, expensive. Now, because podcast is the thing, where before podcasts, no one had heard about it. You had to educate people what a podcast was. Then now everyone's throwing podcasts here And also there's big names that are doing their own podcast. So that's literally raised everything. There was a pushback about the name podcast at the beginning. It was just like, oh, what a horrible name. Radio's lovely, television's lovely, but podcast, that's horrible. So we've gone through all that, and now we're here. And you can go walk into any electrical store and you can buy a microphone, you can buy the little lights, everything. Where we struggle with all the equipment, etc., etc. So there's no excuse. Quality is important. Authenticity is important, to show up as you. And your niche, absolutely. It's so important. I think that goes hand in hand with authenticity, is finding your niche and being yourself. Is you will create, and this is what I always say about podcasts and showing up, is don't look at the people that have been doing it for years and years and years, that have got millions of followers. They've done their time and they put in the hard work, but it's taken time. It's taken a long time to get to that place. Just visualize that if you had 100 people in a room, would you not be happy that you're talking to 100 people in that room? That all these 100 people are listening to every word that you're saying. That is powerful. You go and book a room and you get 100 people, you can see that that's impressive, to be talking to 100 people. So when you do your niche, all right, people may look at you and go, oh, we've only got 50 followers. Yeah, but that's 50 people that you've got in a room that are hanging off every word that you're saying, that are buying into what you're saying and who you are. So don't be fazed by the numbers. It's the messaging. It's showing up. Think of the room. If you've got 3,000 followers, or let's say 17,000 followers, that fills a stadium. That's a stadium full of people that are listening to your message. So don't worry about the millions. Yeah, it might come if your niche is very popular, but a lot of us, the niche isn't. It's for certain people. It's for people that are genuinely interested in that certain topic. So don't worry about the numbers.
Exactly, number doesn't matter. And I think the message and the kind of content you're trying to make, that matters the most. So I have a surprise rapid fire round for you. I think it was not a part of discussion, but I want my audience, like they admire people on TV, so they don't know the other side of the persons. So I want you, like, I will be asking you some rapid fire questions, and you have to answer it quickly. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee. Morning bird or night owl?
Morning bird.
Text or calls?
Text.
Okay. E-books or physical books?
Physical books.
YouTube or Netflix?
Netflix.
Favorite holiday destination where you want to go and spend time?
Well, it's where I've gone every year, Sweden. It's my mother's homeland, so it's always the place to chill.
Okay. One rapid fire question from my side. As you earlier mentioned that you are a singer as well. So I want you to sing few lines for our audience, like any song you want to dedicate to our team or to our audience.
Oh God, my favorite band was Human League in the early days. So I'm only human, of flesh and blood I'm made. That's all you're gonna get.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now we come on back on the track, and we have to discuss what we were discussing. As you mentioned that you can make space in 1.8 billion people who were using TikTok, and now you have a good following on your TikTok. Networking is very important thing, connecting with your audience. But now in this era, every creator wants to be a viral, and we have seen a lot of people going viral, but after some period of time they suddenly we can't see them. What is the hack of maintaining good network with your audience, and what is the viral thing will long last for the creators or for the people who want to do podcasts, who want to pursue career in digital media?
You know, I know I'm 56, but I've learned a lot about myself, and I think, if I had done this about 5 or 6 years ago, I know I wasn't ready because I was ego driven. It was all about, look at me, you know, aren't I successful? I'm this and I'm that. This is my title, etc., etc. And I know when I was showing up on social media, if I got a negative, um, you know, someone being negative about me, I would take that in and I would be very self-conscious. And so I wasn't ready. I really wasn't ready for social media. And it's only now, after COVID and nearly losing my business, that my ego was literally kicked out. And now I show up as, and this is what I was saying, I'm genuinely me. There is nothing, I'm here to help people. I'm not here about me and who I am. I'm generally here to help people. And yeah, all right, through that, hopefully I will get clients that will want to pay for my services. But on a day-to-day basis, I show up as being me, as I want to help as many people as I can. And that's what I would say to anyone. Be careful of the journey that you want to create, because you see how people show up, you see the success that people have, but actually it takes a lot of work and dedication. And you can only do that if you believe in what you're doing. What is your purpose of showing up every single day? If it's just for money, it's not going to work. You've got to have more than that. What is your life going to be? You know, happiness doesn't come from money. Happiness comes from having the right people around you. Happiness comes from being fulfilled every single day, that you know why you're getting up every single day. What is your purpose? How are you helping people? Because it's not all about you. It's about, is your message helping people? Is what you're selling helping people? And you know, if you don't have true purpose when you start off, it's going to fizzle out. And if you're just looking for viral videos, you're going to run out of ideas, because what is the purpose of viral videos? What? Just to make people smile, to make people happy? You really got to know, you really got to put it down, why and how you're starting this journey, because it isn't easy. It does take time, and it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time away from your family and friends to do this. If you want to be viral, if you want to keep on showing up, and that's what you have to do. You got to keep on showing up. You got to be in people's faces as much as possible.
Very well explained. And I think every business or every creator, they have taken time. So if we see the stories of successful persons in this, or businessman, we have name of Elon Musk, we have name of uh, Bill Gates. So they have taken their time. Like they, and now if they are the richest businessman of the world, but they have 20 years journey, 30 years journey back behind it. So yes, having a purpose is a very important for creators or either businessmen. So I have a next question, like if a digital creator or entrepreneur or a digital businessman, he is doing something continuously and he's not getting results, he's failing. So it means he's not good enough for this job. What is your take on it? Because you have a lot of experience.
I think you might start with one idea, but you know, you've got to keep on looking at it. You've got to keep on reviewing it. And also, what I say to entrepreneurs being on that journey, you've got to look after yourself as well. You've got to learn about yourself, because this isn't just about you developing a product, a service, etc., etc. It's about you developing yourself and you growing as a person. So there's always got to be self-reflection. There's always got to be self-reflection in regards to your product, because the market's always changing. The world is always changing. People's habits are always changing. So you've got to always be looking and learning, and not go, oh, well, this is me. My product, my brand, my service is the best. If, you know, and no one else is seeing that, and you're not learning, or you're not asking the questions, you're not going out there and finding out, you know, is it right for this person, company, etc., etc., you're going to be old news. So you've always got to be looking after yourself, because you need the energy. You've got to show up as the best you can. So if you're not doing that and you're putting all your energy into your service or your product, that's not going to last very long, because you're going to literally burn out after a while. So, and I've experienced that, and also I've met a lot of entrepreneurs. I know a lot of business people as well that are in a position where they're literally putting all their efforts into their companies, but they're not looking after themselves, and they're the shell of the people that they once were. And it's just like I always say, put the mask over your face first. Look after you first. Then you can look after everyone else. You can look after your clients. You can look after your staff. You can look after the products, etc., etc. But you have to look after you. And they, the little voice in your head will go, oh, yeah, but I haven't got time. I haven't got time. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I'm thinking of 100 things, 200 things. I've been there. I've seen pictures of myself when I was starting out my business, where I had my small daughter in my arms and a laptop on my lap, and I'm focusing on the laptop. And I'm thinking, when I look at that picture, I feel so sad because I had a beautiful daughter, baby in my arms, and I should have been focused on her, and I wasn't, because we know what it's like. It's everything. We're literally focusing on the business. We don't, it's 24/7. It never leaves us. So you have to put in your schedule time for you and your family, because they're the ones that are going to follow you. They're the ones that are by your side through thick and thin. Don't forget that, because what I found at one point, I left them behind. I nearly lost my second marriage. I nearly I lost the connections with my children. Don't do that, because it can be a lonely journey. What are you doing this for? That's another question that you have to ask yourself. What are you doing this for? Is this entrepreneurial journey for? Is it just for ego? If it's for ego, then you're on a losing battle. But if it's something deeper that comes from the heart, a little bit of ego helps, but you can bring your family along with you. Share everything that you're going through. I know that voice in your head will go, oh yeah, but they won't understand. They won't understand the responsibilities. They won't understand about me having to look after staff, payroll, cash flow, clients, etc., etc. No, they won't. So put it in layman terms. Put it in a simple way that they can understand, just so they know, just so they can be part of it. Don't leave them to one side and then you think, oh, when I'm successful, then I'll bring them up to speed. And because you've left them behind, and they decide, well, this isn't for me. We never see you. Anytime that you're in the house, either you're in your laptop, your phone, or you're thinking about everything else, but you're not being present. That's what you've got to be careful of.
Really well said, sir. And I think a lot of youngsters learning. We have a time limit, and as a podcaster, I have a lot of things to discuss with you. Before leaving, any message for young people, young entrepreneurs, aspiring people who want to do something in their life? Any message for them?
Yeah, literally choose something that comes from the heart, really. And the only way you're going to get connected to the heart is to give yourself space. Really think deep. Get past the mind. Also, don't do it just to keep other people happy. I know the pressure that you have from family, friends. Don't listen to that. It's got to come from here, because you're the one that has to show up every single day. Not them, it's you. So you got to choose something that really resonates with you, that really gets you inspired, and create those goals, and understand that you won't reach those goals unless you take small little steps. Everything happens in small little steps. You can't get to that big goal unless you take the small steps. And that's you showing up every single day.
It was a great learning experience for me, and I think a lot of people who are watching this, they have learned a lot. And if you want to start your career in media field, you can start. There are a lot of things. There are production, there is engineering. There's not just like people who are sitting in front of the camera. There are a lot of things happening behind the camera as well. And I think it will be great learning experience for all of you. And it's time to take a leave. We will meet you in the next podcast. Till then, bye bye. Take care. Have a
Bye-bye.
blessed day.
Take care.